Welcome to Buck What You Heard. This is KB. I know we have a lot to really go through today from a Buccaneer standpoint from our game on Sunday versus the Rams. Very hard fought game that came down to the wire. And then we're going to do a little look into the standings, kind of, where the Bucks are in terms of the NFC overall landscape, in terms of the playoff picture. um, Talk about the game in Germany on Sunday morning to those in the U.S. And then from there, we'll discuss, maybe some things to go, look for in our last game before the bye week, and then additionally, maybe look in some games coming up if there is some time. Thank you, Bud and Shooter, for starting in the chat. Obviously, yes, with the German, definitely love seeing that. We'll see if we can get Pless and Josh to come on today. If not, it'll just be me, and we can get out of here. A little short and sweet. I know, especially the ones living in Florida. I obviously am in the North Carolina area, so my heart goes out to everyone. Make sure you're all, safe during the tropical storm that's supposed to hit you all tomorrow. All righty, them Buccaneers. Here, let me share my screen, and then we will look at kind of what went on from a statistical standpoint with the Bucks on Sunday versus the Rams. Want to focus really briefly on what the Rams were able to accomplish. Being able to really hold them to really minimal yards. I mean, um, total yards for the game for the Rams. I mean, Matt Stafford did not have a good game. I think the biggest thing to really call out, is they didn't turn the ball over, but they were just as ineffective as we were. And then thank you, Emily, for coming into the stream as well. Love seeing the German. Feel free to throw in whatever German phrase you want. The most creative one wins. Um, but I think the biggest one to really call out is from the Rams standpoint is the Cooper Cup bust. Obviously, that was a 69-yard touchdown on a broken coverage where Keanu Neal, the Bucks are playing a cover three look. Keanu Neal is playing in the slot. Cooper Cup runs up the seam, and Mike Edwards, who's playing free safety, did not see what was going on. Um, it was really disappointing because at the end of the day, if you take out that one play, Cooper Cup is 7 catches for 58 yards. That's a good day at the office for the defense. So letting that one get away definitely definitely hurt, but obviously the Bucks were able to come through in the end. I think I'll get into this a little bit later. That Cooper Cup rush, the one where he slid, I believe that might be for the 5-yard one. If not, it was for maybe 2 or 3 yards. But that was a big key in the game that allowed the Bucks to come back. Chris Cole, welcome back to the stream. Um, yeah, I think from an overall standpoint, the Bucks held the Rams to everything you'd want to from a defensive standpoint. I know, the big struggle has been, stopping the run for the Bucks of late. The Rams are obviously the second worst rushing team in the NFL. The first, obviously, being the Bucks. But from the Rams standpoint, only averaging 2.8 yards a carry. That's a great return to form. I think a lot of that comes down to Vita Vea stepping up, Akeem Hicks providing a presence. Um, would love to have seen one of these fumbles go our way, but it is what it is. You know, I think the best player on the Rams on Sunday was their punter. That's usually good news for the team that you're playing. Now to the good old Buccaneers. We're just gonna walk through, little group by group because obviously that's going to be our main focus today. Tom Brady, good, not great game. Good, good. Obviously, I think his biggest contribution to the game was calling the K dot and uh, play action play at the end of the game, where essentially he was able to come in, I think we're all afraid of Lenny getting stuffed at the 1 yard line. So the fact that we're still not comfortable running Brady sneaks, that tells me Brady's hand might still be an issue. So that's something to just keep in mind, and hopefully the bye week after this Germany game can help. But I think some of Brady's most important or best throws of the game came in that final drive. Obviously, I mentioned the call to K. Otten on the goal line for the 1 yard touchdown, but really it was that seam pass. 44 seconds left in the game, no timeouts at like the 35, 40 yard line. Getting that clutch 20, 28, 30 yard pass, whatever it was, up the middle, that was ginormous. Being able to set us up. Obviously, we spiked it. Scotty got a couple nice out routes. I'm just going to be honest. The Rams, in my opinion, on the defensive side, if it wasn't for the pass interference, I think that they thought that they were going to keep us out of the end zone. I think they were allowing us to just march it up. I think putting us at the 1 yard line was what did them in. And Emily, I'm definitely with you. We sucked again. Definitely agree. Did 12 call his own plays on that 44-second drive, or were they being called by Leftwich? So there's two ways to think about it. You've probably heard Emily and others in the stream of, when we go no huddle, typically what that does is the first play to Kate Otten was called, I'm assuming, in the huddle. Like, so that was Byron Leftwich from the defense, making their stand. He was already game planning on what his first play or two were going to be. Now, after that initial play is when, the quarterback has certain key words that, like, red 67 might mean one play. I mean, Omaha, if you want to do like, Peyton Manning, obviously meant something else, but being able to have a one word association so each individual player in the 2 minute drill knows what's going on. Um, I would say the majority of those plays were called by Byron Leftwich and whoever else is involved in calling the plays. We heard obviously that Tom Brady was responsible for ultimately the game winning play. But for the most part, hats off to Leftwich, really, for getting us in that position. Again, if we don't get that pass interference, which was a legit flag, and I haven't heard anyone from a national news standpoint saying, "Oh, that wasn't a deserved flag on Mike Evans." It was. So it's it, if we don't get that pass interference, Emily, I'm not sure we win. And that's a scary thought because remember the drive before, Scotty drops that touchdown pass and it's we didn't make it. We could have obviously have sealed the game right then and there instead of needing the extra time. Chris Cole, I can't believe I saw a post saying that we played better with Winston. Oh no, 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 no. And I think I know what post that was. Loose Cannons, obviously friend of the show. Forgot which one of them might have been Poppy or obviously there's three of them, Poppy Stank or Sam or one of them threw it out there. I think they were just poking some fun. I think it was Poppy because I think after that we went back and forth really briefly on Twitter and he was basically like, "Yeah, I just was trying to jinx. I've done this with Devin White on Twitter. I definitely do it with Byron Leftwich on Twitter. Because as much as I, want people like Devin White and Byron Leftwich to succeed, um, I'm definitely a baseball player at heart. So being able to be superstitious goes a long way for me. But obviously, if Jameis Winston was our quarterback, I don't think we win that game. In that game, a turnover or two is the difference. Um, for Brady, obviously, just going to focus on him since we're going to close out the quarterback real quick. Um, not having a turnover, he's not having a great touchdown department this year, but he's really high in yards and very low interceptions, only sitting at one for the year. The Bucks have lost some of those key games this year, but the reason why they're in those games is because we haven't been turning the ball over. G Vegas, what is up, good sir? Bud, still don't like Leftwich. Everyone knows how I feel on this subject. I know I said earlier I like to give him crap on Twitter. I like him as a person. I think he actually has the good he has okay, outside of the play calling aspect of being a coach, I think he presents himself well. I don't like his interviews, but then again, I think, people are usually very hit and miss on interviews. I think the media really loves Bruce Arians, so going from Bruce Arians to, let's say, Byron Leftwich in a press conference is, a big letdown. Um, Bud deserves Das Boot. Love that for Leftwich. I mean, that's where I'm set. Um, it it's going to be very curious to see how the Bucks end the season and what happens with Byron, because I'm still in the mindset that I don't think Brady's coming back. G Vegas wide receivers need to stop the drops. They can't be squandering opportunities. It's November, time to play clean ball. I think the biggest one, I mean, Scotty. I mean, the fact that he even was involved on Sunday, and he's been better when he's been playing lately. Obviously, that drop was killer. But I think when you think of the Bucks, think of it as they're making their drops in very key situations. They're by no means leading the NFL in drops. So I just want to make sure that we have that, that understanding. But yeah, Mike, I know he got absolutely hit in his ribs area. um, I'm just gonna check the injury report real quick to see if he's on it. He's not even on. Oh wait, no, excuse me. Ribs and ankle. Yeah, he took a rib shot. I mean, that guy was in pain. I'll give him the pass. But yeah, we got to stop dropping him in key situations. Buccaneer Bruce agreeing with G Vegas on the one who must not be named, Byron Leftwich. Nestor, welcome to the pod, sir. Buccaneer Bruce's interview show his starkiness. Yeah, I think the best rivalry in the NFL right now is our friend of the show, Joshua Cole Allen of Pewter Report, and Byron Leftwich. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ask around on Twitter or even DM me, and I can even send you the clips of Byron basically saying he doesn't agree with the notion of the play action being effective without a running game. Tell you no further, Byron, than to look at Brady's own play call at the goal line where you're averaging a measly 2.6 yards per carry. You have struggled the entire year in 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 situations, especially even in the red zone too, mind you. And you're able to fool the defense when typically the Rams typically do not against the Bucks play action. They typically just drop. They don't even play the run action. Yeah, just the Manila play calling. It's so bizarre because, like, me and Plus will say, like, do run the same plays that work. Um, Sometimes I think Byron takes it too literally instead of repackaging it into something else and doing it. Other times, I mean, we still have the first down run problem. I mean, we started that game very terribly. Um, and then Emily, I know every game is important, but this game is in Germany is a must win. If they look like newbies again and fall flat, I don't know what to think anymore. I'm with you. I mean, this is a very important game. We're going to look up the NFC standings real quick. Um, so, in terms of the NFC, obviously, the Bucks are first in the NFC South, mainly because of that tiebreaker win over the Falcons. But look who's sitting on top of the NFC West. I don't think anyone would have predicted the Seahawks would have 6 wins for the season going into the year, much less a 6-3 start going into the Germany game. This is the Bucks' first big opponent where they can make a statement and say, "Hey, we're back going into the bye." I'm not going to put my foot on that gas pedal. I'm going to take a break and I'm just going to say, "Hey, thank goodness we won the game on Sunday," because I'll tell you right now, looking at the standings here, one of the Packers or the Rams is not going to be in the playoffs. It's just as simple as that. So it was a huge win to get on Sunday. Um, but yeah, the NFC South, I mean, I think we can write off the Panthers at this point. They don't know who their quarterback is. We might see Sam Darnold soon. He just got activated off the IR. Baker Mayfield came in relief for the PJ Walker experiment. I expect Baker to probably start the next game. Saints dropped a big one to the Ravens. Again, they don't know who their quarterback is. Andy Dalton has not impressed. Maybe Jameis. I think their best quarterback right now is Taysom Hill, and he looked the best on that Monday Night Football game against the Ravens. Here, we'll get you G Vegas real quick, and then we'll finish up some more information from the game. But I haven't watched much Seahawks this year, but I don't know how their defense is playing. Now, when G Vegas, just to give you a little bit of context, so Pete Carroll plays his teams play the game by the books. They don't beat themselves, and they're opportunistic. Tariq Woolen, and we'll go over their depth chart in a short bit. Tariq Woolen is a late round cornerback who basically was one of those combine stars. He's come in and provided them stability at the cornerback position that a lot of people didn't think they had. I'm someone who wasn't a big fan of, oh my goodness, the left tackle that they just drafted, Charles Cross. I thought he was going to be a little bit overrated, but you know what? They solved their tackle problem. So we'll get a little bit more into the Seahawks in a quick bit. We really need Winfield to play because Geno has the highest completion in the league. Yes and no. The Bucks this entire season have said, "Hey, we'll give you the short, easy stuff," and it's essentially both offensive and defensively. We're playing to win third down, and for most of the season, we haven't won third down. The defense obviously has performed better, but it is what it is. But for the Bucks rushing, Rachaad White needs the touches. Shout out to our boys, Real Bucks Talk. They just produced a video either yesterday or this morning on the different rushes between Rachaad White, Keyshawn Vaughn, and Leonard Fournette. And man, there's a huge difference. Keyshawn Vaughn, shout out to you. That 5-yard run was very impressive, sir. There wasn't much for you there, but then essentially Byron screwed him on the next play call, and then he got a -1. Then we never heard from Vaughn again. But when the Bucks were successful rushing on first down, they immediately followed it up with a second down run that was either for a minimal or no gain or a loss. So that was very disappointing to see. But Rachaad White's the best running back right now. Lenny has a role. I still think he's talented, but he's missing holes, man. And it's really sad to see. Hopefully, he can just turn it on in the playoffs. But Rachaad White is the one who needs to play to get us first downs and win us games, especially if we're gonna run on first down. I'd rather it be White. Um, Receiving Kate Otten to me is a game ball player. He basically all of his production came on that last drive. He got the 28-yarder to ignite the 44-second drive, and then he got the game-winning 1-yard touchdown. Scotty Miller got some easy targets, was able to capitalize on them. Lenny, I think this is where he just does okay. He does really well on his checkdowns. Mike Evans had the drops, but again, I think that rib shot had something to do with it. I think one thing to be really concerned about is Chris Godwin. He is more than just a screen guy, Byron. The, this average yards per catch is stupid. We can't do that. His longest play is 9 yards. No, absolutely not. You need to use Godwin up the seams. He is not just a blocker. You can put him out wide. You can go 12 personnel and put Godwin out wide. But the problem is when we go 12 personnel and Godwin's out wide, he motions behind the tight end, and every defender knows that it's a run play. Defensively, Keanu Neal, I was very surprised to see he had that many tackles, but for being safety number 4, or 3 or 4, or safety 4 because of Logan Ryan. I forgot he's been out. Keanu Neal, thank you for wrapping up. Love seeing the 5 solo tackles for both him and Carlton. Devin White had a good game. Don't let the stat sheet fool you on this one. He was better in coverage. He had very good pursuit angles to the ball. What he did was very impressive, and we needed it for the win. Levante David, I also believe, had a good game. Jamel Dean has had a season. Bucks fans aren't talking about enough. Jamel Dean's going to get paid a lot of money. He's going to get Carlton Davis money this offseason. I'm hoping he sticks around, but I think he's firmly cemented. I better not hear any SMB talk unless Dean gets hurt. Nacho got his first sack with the Buccaneers. Love to see it. Vita Vea with 2 sacks. Obviously, I think would get the Otten got the offensive game ball. Vita Vea would get the defensive game ball, and then I really wanted to show out, or this obviously would be the special teams game ball. Jake Camarda had 2 tackles. Also was your special teams player of the week. Um, Gosh, I know a lot of people have been talking about that punt he had that bounced off uh, the the goal line, and it was just super disappointing to see that. A, we didn't challenge it, but B, that the referee just basically just went with the returner and didn't actually look at the ball or understand what was going on in that moment. Um, Suck up three or I will show or I want to finish Camarda real quick. Camarda, man, that is a huge average. 4 of his 6 punts are inside the 20. Um, he had one that was, I think, like a 73-yard punt. It was just beautiful. Camarda, please keep this up because if our offense struggles, we need you, and you were the difference in the game. Ryan Suckup had the 50-plus yard block, so he is still having a phenomenal season. Still leads the NFL in field goals made. So from a special team standpoint, our kickers, and then shout out to our long snapper, um, man, Zach Triner, you've done an amazing job this year. Um, Want to go through the comments real quick, and then we'll give some quick overall thoughts on the game, and then we will start looking forward. Bud, I know being a Bucks fan is hard, but I step back and look at Green Bay, the Raiders, the Lions, and feel a little bit better. Win the division. I mean, if Bucks fans know anything, learn something from 2020, just make it, baby. And right now, I don't think the Bucks or anyone in the NFC South are going to be a wild card team. So in order to get there, you got to win the division. And even if this team goes in the playoffs, 8 and 9, I think that's where we need to shoot for is to win at least 9 games. But if you are at 8 and you own the tiebreakers, like whatever, like just get there. You're going to host a playoff game against the 5 seed, so probably going to be one of the NFC East, whether that be the if my computer wants to work, there we go. The Cowboys or Giants are what it kind of looks like right now. I know people are talking about the Commanders possibly we having an entire NFC, in the playoffs. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see most likely the 49ers get that 7 seed. Um, it's just going to be really curious to see when these teams start playing each other again, what these records look like. I'm I just think the NFC is wide open. I don't trust the Vikings. The Eagles are a great story. Um, I just got to see it in the playoffs, man. We already saw what Jalen Hurts looked like against the Bucks in the playoffs. So that is what it is. Nestor. Last time I woke up at 6:30 a.m. to watch the Bucks overseas, we got spanked by the Panthers. Hope they're at least competitive. Yeah, that goes out to that Jameis earlier. Yeah, that was the game I was out on Jameis, was that Panthers game. That was the last time I told myself I'll never give him another chance. I was hoping we drafted Woolen Rob G, but I was okay with McCollum. That's exactly where I was. I'm going to be honest. Like when I scout the draft, I scout the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. I basically do like a top 100. I'll basically look at the consensus top 100, break down some film, put them in my own, light. Woolen was someone I didn't even formally grade. I just saw the combine, was like, hey, that's cool. I thought he was going to go in like the second round. I was like, I hope the Bucks don't take him in the second round. Um, G Vegas agrees. I heard Woolen is playing really good. He is. He's the reason why I believe their defense has been able to step up. They have him, and I forgot the name of the linebacker who has been crushing it. Jordan Brooks. Those are the 2 players to really look out for on Seattle's defense. Suck up Ottenvea MVPs so far. Yeah, those are my 3 game balls for the game, Emily. They were all fantastic. Is that praise for Armstrong coaching the kickers? Oh man, see, to those of you who've never maybe played football or been in a college or NFL locker room or don't know how like the dynamics work, kickers, punters, and your long snappers. I mean, the long snappers go to maybe some defensive meetings. Generally, they play linebacker or something else. But kickers and punters, man, they're their own souls. Like, don't get me wrong, there's kicking specialists, that are coordinators who obviously know how to teach kicking, sure. But especially at the professional level, I'm giving a lot of, the feedback, especially for suck up. That's his performance. I think he's mastered how to kick in Ray J, and I think the only places he's really struggled is Detroit. So, and I'm not going to hold that against him. The Bucks, destroyed in that game. But for Camarda, I think he probably needs to lean a little bit more on your special teams coach because I think Josh Capo pointed out during the Panthers game, one of his punts, he punted to the wrong side. That can cause a lot of issues. So I think he and Armstrong more so have to work very closely together. Some final thoughts on the Rams and Bucks game. I think we all just got to be happy we have the win. It is what it is. It wasn't pretty. But if you said we won the Packers game in a very ugly game, I think people would have been just as happy. And we beat the 2 teams no one really thought we would beat. The problem is we lost to the Panthers and the Steelers. But sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. We just need these players to step up, the coaches to have them more well prepared. I know Brady on the Let's Go podcast this week really put it on the players. As much as I don't like Leftwich, Brady and Leftwich, I'm sure you all saw that embrace that happened after the game-winning touchdown and the game was over. I said it on the sideline, or when I sat on the sidelines on Twitter, and I later said it on this podcast. As much as I hate Byron from a play calling standpoint, he and Brady seem to love each other. Um, I mean, if I was a player, that's the type of relationship I'd like to have with my coach. So hopefully we can just get Byron to take the next steps, and hopefully he can take that next step in his career as a play caller. But yeah, this one wasn't pretty. We just got to move on. So let's talk some injury reports for the Bucks. Cameron Brate, he's back, but it should be the Kate Otten show moving forward. Just happy to see that he's healthy. Um, it is what it is. Mike Evans, let's keep an eye on the ribs and ankle. Limited participation. It stinks, but Mike's proven he's a tough SOB and probably will be playing. Russell Gage, I'm happy he's at least been able to rest these past couple weeks. I'm hoping to we get him back after the bye week, and maybe he's more like himself than the shell of himself that he is right now. The hamstring injury, it's been lingering, but he also played on it. I mean, I just have vivid memories of the Packers game of him just holding that puppy when there was no other receivers really to provide any help. Luka Decky, I'm sorry that you're hurt, man, but this is on the coaching staff. They should have been playing Nick Leverett more. He had his, ups and downs against Aaron Donald, but so does every elite player in the NFL. Nick Leverett's not elite, but boy, has he done the job and provided stability. Nick Leverett needs to be the left guard moving forward. Julio Jones, who the heck knows? I tweeted during the game after one of his good plays that he had that he looked healthy and it was great. Well, you know what? That changed about 3 plays later, and we never saw him after that. So I wouldn't count on Julio Jones. I wish we would just throw him an IR and maybe just ramp him up in December going into the playoffs. Shaq Mason, personal. I don't know much to really report. I know he had an ankle that he's been playing through. Hope he's okay. But he played on Sunday, and I didn't hear or see anything of concern. JJ Russell, not a huge deal. Antoine Winfield concussion, full participation, but important to note, he is still in the protocol. So again, Antoine Winfield, is in the protocol. Hopefully he plays this week, but there is no guarantee. White kind of reminds me of Matt Forte, Arian Foster. What would you say? Um, I think that I mean those aren't bad comps. The only issue I have with those comps is both of them thrived in zone blocking schemes, which is something that the Bucks don't run. But from a skill set perspective, if Rashad Wright becomes Matt Forte or Arian Foster, I think the Bucks would consider that a win, and I would certainly consider that a win. Um, I need to really think about from a play style perspective who White reminds me of. I know he has the pass catching skills, but the Bucks haven't really utilized that yet. I love when they run 21 personnel and have or 20 personnel and have two backs in the backfield. But we still haven't seen the the White hand show, and I can't wait to really see that. I mean, I'd love to see him maybe motion out into the slot of a 20 21 personnel, see what we kind of do there. But um, that is what it is. And I know he had the one back shoulder fade that didn't go his way, but he's a rookie, and that's a tough play. Um, all right, let's talk some Seattle Seahawks. And if anyone has any questions on the Seahawks or this game, please feel free to chime in. Would love to get everyone's thoughts. Let's start on offense. To anyone who knows my fiance, the only person I'd ever consider me be afraid of her leaving me for is DK Metcalf, and I don't blame her. But DK is healthy and playing at an extremely high level. Oh, one thing I forgot to note on the injury report: the reason why Seattle doesn't have an injury report is because today they are flying to Germany, and they're going to be a day before the Bucks. So the Bucks fly in tomorrow. So DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, those two are, Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis just have fun. Tyler Lockett's probably going to also play in the slot, so that's where Antoine Winfield would come into play. Marquise Goodwin's been pretty good. Um, Eskridge, like they don't really have much outside of TK Lockett and then whatever Marquise Goodwin can provide from a speed standpoint. Offensive line, I mentioned earlier, these two tackles that they drafted I mean, they've performed the way that the Chiefs O lineman that they drafted last year um, performed, and I mean this in the most complimentary way. Crossan, Lucas, they've done fantastic, and they've patched up the interior to be more than serviceable. Uh, Tight end, Will Noah Fant. I know Will Disley's listed here, but Noah Fant, as of lately, has been performing a lot better and up to what people were expecting for him to do in Denver. QB Gino, this man, comeback player of the year. Um, well, comeback player of the year tells you that basically he was something before. This man was a draft bust, was going to be a second round pick who just, floated around, man. But he really figured it out. Hats off to Gino. Have him in my fantasy league, multiple fantasy leagues, one of which I stream quarterback, and he is my starter, and I just refuse to take him out. You need the Bucks to be able to contain him because he is not the speed demon that maybe Kyler and Lamar are, for instance. And I really like the way the Bucks were able to contain Lamar for the most part. I mean, obviously Lamar is going to be Lamar, but Gino's not going to be Lamar. So if we can keep him in the pocket, make him beat you with his arm, gives you the best chance. Um, but Kenneth Walker the third. This is the key who you have to stop. If the Seahawks are establishing a run game, the Bucks are in trouble. This is where scoring points and scoring points early is going to be vital for the Bucks because if you got a lead and Gino has to throw, that's when mistakes are going to happen. But if you let Kenneth Walker the third come in and establish the run game, if those of you who play fantasy again know exactly who Kenneth Walker the third is, and you don't want to be playing him each week. So the Bucks obviously took a great step forward against a lesser competition in terms of a run game this past week against the Rams. But they really got to step up versus the Seahawks. DJ Dallas does some like returning and stuff, but after the injury to Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker III is the main person to look out for. But they were supposed to fly out tomorrow. Hope they don't have weather issues. I believe that's still the plan. The nice thing is, I'm sure they're taking every precaution that's necessary. I also believe that they were going to leave late Thursday night into Friday morning, if I remember correctly. But don't hold me to that. Davis will have his hands full covering DK. I think it's important to know that for the most part, CD3 and Dean, they play sides. Like Carlton and CD3 and Dean don't go into the slot for matchups. Like they're gonna move DK around a little bit. Um, so we'll see how it goes. I think again, it's like the whole Cooper Cup thing. You can't give up that big play. If you end the game with DK 7 catches for 58 yards, whatever Cup was when you take out that 69-yard touchdown, that's where you need DK to be because DK is going to get DK. But you just got to limit it. Dean is cashing in with this play. Oh, you guys have been on this journey with me these past couple of years. I've been saying Dean, Dean, Dean. Last year, beginning of the year, I remember I was at the Charlotte Motor Speedway and went to the Hall of Fame for NASCAR. And I look at my phone and all I see is this Dean hate. And I set the record straight. I still have my receipts. I threw them into a folder. And let me tell you, man, Dean, he does not fall for the double moves anymore. That was his one weakness. If you had to identify one weakness of Dean, it was the double move. Teams don't even target him anymore, and he doesn't fall for that stuff. Where did Geno Smith come from? I remember back in 2012, he beat the Bucs due to a late out of bounds hit by Levante David. Frustrating loss. Needs some payback. Yep. So Geno Smith was a second-round pick for the Jets. He was one of those players who I believe this was during the Rex Ryan era. He, was supposed to be drafted day one. It was a really bad QB class. He still goes day two, and he's very upset. It's very visible on the ESPN and all that. But Rex Ryan said it recently on one of the ESPN shows. He was basically like, "Hey, Gino came in, thought he was hot shit, didn't prepare as well as he could. Obviously took him some time, but he figured everything out. And they're right. If you told me that they essentially traded Russell Wilson for Geno, obviously Drew Lock was the one who was technically traded, but if you want to say they traded him for Geno, the Seahawks won that trade by a landslide. Why didn't David need to stop Walker? Exactly. And the nice thing is White's biggest struggles come against obviously like the Christian McCaffreys, the ones who can really do a lot of the Kamara, the ones who can do things in space. Kenneth Walker III is not that type of back. So he's not going to be this, threat in the passing game, gonna, shake and bake. Devin White, he needs to play downhill and play his assignment. And I think all will be good. I think David's still going to be the one who's more responsible for Noah Fant in a coverage standpoint. Would love to see a throwback of David punching the ball for a fumble. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're still talking about that Jets game. Not sure what the future holds for Geno, but sometimes scheme fit is important. Jets was a raw deal. We've heard that the Jets were a raw deal for Todd Bowles. I think everyone deserves, blame to a certain extent. It's easy just to go, oh, the scheme, oh, the GM, oh, the coach. But at the end of the day, though, Geno's a professional player. He got his opportunities. He didn't capitalize on them. And I think that's one thing we just can't forget. My only question about Dean coming out was his knee. I don't see anything in regards to Dean and his knee. Oh, coming out of the draft. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, that obviously was a concern. But Buccaneer Bruce, you can even find some Auburn tape. I thought he was impressive. I thought he was more impressive than SMB was in college in the slot. Do with that what you will. I also thought his tape coming out was better than Carlton Davis's in college, but I think right now Carlton Davis still has that little edge over Dean, but who knows what Dean looks like in 2 years? He might be a better player than Davis. Who knows? I mean, I think having that speed is his biggest asset. Briefly, want to touch on the defense. This, when you think of the Seahawks post the Legion of Boom, think of it as the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Pete Carroll didn't want to let Russ cook because he really believes in establishing a run game and having your defense basically be the reason why you win the game. Um, that obviously that strategy does work. It doesn't work always. I remember there was a game um, where I think maybe it was the Bills. I forgot who it was, but they just came out and just passed. And Pete Carroll was like, "Well, we prepared for the run." They just pass, 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 pass. He's like, I had the team prepare to stop the run. So again, they're going to want to establish the run against the Bucks because if they can't run on us, they don't have a chance. But from a defensive standpoint, I mean, Shelby Harris is a talented player. Al Woods has done his job. Daryl Taylor, I'm not sure if that means he's injured. I need to see an injury report because I'm not going to sit here and be like I'm a Seattle expert. I mainly watch the film, but I can't tell you a lot from a personnel standpoint, like who's number who. For instance, I can tell you Jordan Brooks, Tariq Woolen are the two real callouts. Quandre Diggs is a good player. He's just not what Tariq and Jordan mean to this team. Um, and we'll keep it super simple. Again, they have a good special teams unit. So we Tyler Lockett returns kicks or punts. DJ Dallas, who's a pretty good kick returner. Um, it's going to be a hard fought game. The Bucks got to win at least two of the three special teams and either offense and defense. Like they need to come out and play, win all three phases of the game for all I care. Yeah, sorry, the draft. I thought his knee would impede his development. No, I agree, but he hasn't had any issues, and knock on wood, that he's good. Where's our first/second round D lineman? I haven't heard from him. Thy name is Logan Hall. Logan Hall, I think we all just gotta pump the brakes. Again, he is a toolsy guy. He's flashed. I think where Joe Tryon-Sharinka has started playing with a little bit more consistency. Logan Hall's not there yet, but you gotta ease him back in. Like, you know, let let Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea do the dirty work and let Logan Hall come in and provide some juice. He's not going to be a well-tuned machine coming out of the draft. Will the Brewer will be nice to have an excuse to drink beer early on Sunday, celebrating a Bucks win. That's the hope. That is the hope. I know Gene will be. Speaking of Das Boot from earlier in the chat, Gene will be enjoying some nice cold ones, I believe, on Eastern time Sunday morning. But I know it would be 6 a.m. Pacific time where he lives, but it's going to be like whatever it is, 3, 4, 2, 3 o'clock whenever the game actually starts. I'd feel a lot better if I knew Winfield was playing. I think it's heading in that direction, but he's still in the protocol. Last week there just wasn't enough time for him to get cleared. Justice, welcome to the chat. Seattle's D-line gets caught with the hard count, Reed in particular. Yeah, but you know what the Bucks really don't do? They don't do very much hard count. They didn't do it with Jameis. They haven't done it at all really with Brady either. Even from an audible standpoint, that's not something that the Bucks have done or relied on. So while that's great, teams abuse us for it. Like we know Sue did it a bunch, Barrett did it a bunch, obviously. Missed him, but Vita Vea really stepped up, and that's what we really need to keep going. Avery getting more snaps than Hall is something else, though. Yes, but they play different positions. So really, I mean, Anthony Nelson and Carl Nassib were playing a good amount of snaps each week behind JTS and Barrett. However, no Barrett really throws a wrench. So what they're trying to do is play matchups with these guys, keep them healthy, keep them running in and out. Um, so so they're able to be rested because there's really only four of them on the edge. And I really like the way that they've handled the D line rotation this year. And then if G Vegas really briefly before we move on to Rob G, Logan Hall basically plays behind Will Golston, Vita Vea, and Akeem Hicks, and then Nacho gets good snaps too. So I think that's something to really just keep in mind. When GTS learned to play with better pace, he'll average 12 sacks a year. I don't know if it's pacing. I mean, it's assignment football. Like it's consistency. It's winning down over down because that's why I think a lot of people give PFF a lot of crap. And I'm someone who definitely believes in pressures correlate the sacks. You can get 14 pressures a year and 12 sacks in the same season, but that's not telling me the next 3 years you're going to live at that number. Um, it's just a number you really have to pay attention to because there's correlation when it happens to when you see pressures and sacks. He's creating some pressure. It's not Shaq Barrett level pressure, but he's creating pressure and he's doing a pretty good job against the run. Avery is an outside linebacker. He's pretty shifty. Exactly. So that's what I was saying earlier. Again, he's playing a completely different role than Logan Hall. He'd be so close to sacks and impacts plays, he's almost there. Exactly, that's what I mean, and he's also had some TFLs. I'm thinking, for instance, I believe it was the oh, Packers or Steelers, I forgot which, where he just blew up a bunch of trick plays, and it was all because of him. All right, we're gonna do a quick little temperature check. We're gonna go look at some games for this upcoming week, and then we're going to sign off. So we're almost there. We're about probably the next 10, 15 minutes, maybe even less. All right. So NFC East. So obviously, I think the Eagles are obviously the favorites in this division. I still think they're going to win the division. I don't trust the Cowboys or the Giants. Giants are the best story in the NFL, in my opinion. Because again, like the Seahawks, I don't think anyone projected that total to be that high for the season, let alone halfway through the season. Commanders, I don't think are going to be making the playoffs. Ron Rivera, we'll see. Maybe there's new ownership in Washington. I heard that Matthew McConaughey, Jeff Bezos, and Jay Z were looking at buying the Commanders. We'll see, but I think Ron Rivera basically is the franchise. As long as they hover around 500, I think he'll be okay. Seahawks, we've obviously talked a bunch about them. If they drop this game, I mean, the 49ers are right on their heels. That's where the 49ers losing that game, first game of the year against the Bears, really hurts. Really hurts them from a seeding perspective. But the Rams, again, either the Rams or the Packers, their season's over. Really, one of them, their season's over. One of them's not making the playoffs, and then the Cardinals. Uh, Kyler. Uh, Normally he plays really good in the beginning of the year, but there is a new Call of Duty out, so that explains a lot of things. The Vikings. Oh man, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. To me, that's very reminiscent of what I see here between these two teams. The Vikings are good. I don't know what else to really say. They're good. They ain't winning much in the playoffs. Packers, like I said, with the Rams, the season's basically over. One of them, I Honestly, I could see a scenario where both of them don't make the playoffs. They're just playing both some really bad football. Obviously, the Packers just lost to the Lions. The Bears are at least on the up. I mean, if I'm a Bears fan, I'm feeling more encouraged than I am if I'm a Packers fan. That's for sure. The Lions keep winning some games. I want to see Dan Campbell in another year. NFC South, not much to really say. Panthers, have fun. Maybe getting the top 5, getting a quarterback. I think the Panthers will finish with a top 3 pick. Still can't believe we lost to them. Saints dropped a big one to the Ravens, but again, they're only a game out. I mean, obviously, there's some tiebreakers. Let's say they need to beat the Bucks and the Falcons in the next go round. They beat the Falcons, they'll own the tiebreaker. If they beat the Bucks, they'd look at division record, conference record, record versus common opponents, and all that. So those tiebreakers would need to be established. So if the Bucks take care of the Falcons and the Saints in their games against them, then I'm pretty confident saying they'd win the division. But again, get to 9 wins. Just get there. Find 5 wins, please. And then we'll take a brief look at the AFC after I read some comments. We got Justice saying, I'll take Carolina over the Disco Chickens tomorrow night. We're going to get into that game, I promise. Emily, don't forget Camarda. King Cook, welcome. Your record is who it says you are. It is what it is. Exactly, King Cook. Bud, Kyler is 0-2 since the COD came out. Again, I think that's something we have to. They're going to come out with a new COD every year, right? Or every other year. We got to see how this really translates for Kyler, man. And then maybe that study clause wasn't a bad idea. Again, I mean, whoever Kyler's agent is, he knows how to work the Cardinals because he put out that really long press release statement. Not even a statement. It was a mission statement for basically the contract negotiations with Kyler. Basically worked. They caved. But darn, it was just really, really hard to see. It just is what it is. They're screwed, man. They signed their GM, their head coach, and their quarterback, and all 3 of them are not good. Steve Keim's not good at drafting or putting a team together. Cliff Kingsbury can't coach. I think he's a better coach than Kyler as a quarterback, and I think a lot of people. And I'm really curious to see how this HBO in the season things looks with the Cardinals. I think it's going to be a big thing to look at. All right, let's talk about the AFC real briefly. The Bills took a big loss to the Jets. Obviously, if they do even out on record soon, the Jets would technically own the tiebreaker. The biggest call out is the Bills. What's Josh Allen's UCL like? To those of you who don't know, from a baseball standpoint, like, if you tear UCL, it's typically goes to a Tommy John surgery, which is about a year recovery. From a baseball player standpoint, I don't know what the recovery looks like for a football player. It's not as common. Essentially, Josh went to go throw a ball. Defender bends his arm backwards, essentially, and I can't do it with my right arm because of some surgeries. But essentially, it went like this to this, or this way, but 90 degrees the other direction. It's just not pretty at all. Jets, great story in the NFL, and the Dolphins. I mean, Tua's back. I want to see what their record is with Tua. It's probably 5-1. I would probably guess with Tua. It's just good for the NFL to see. Obviously, this whole division's about 500, but I wouldn't trust the Patriots. Just is what it is. AFC West Chiefs, 6-2. I still think they're going to end up being the number 1 seed in the AFC. Chargers, nice to see them over 500, but they're still dealing with some big injuries. Broncos and Raiders, I mean, the biggest trash stories of the season. Obviously, for Russell Wilson here, and their head coach is just honestly performed worse than Bulls and Byron have. And then the Raiders, Josh McDaniels, it's not working so far. I mean, the offense is just feed Devontae Adams, and they just have nothing on defense. They just released another first-round pick. The North, the Ravens, I think will take the division, but the Bengals they've destroyed the Panthers on Sunday, so they were able to Shohei, we're here even without Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon with the 5 tutty game. The Browns, gosh, looking forward to play them after the bye the week before Deshaun Watson comes back. But I think they're just gonna lay in the weeds. Steelers looking at a top 5 pick. They're still don't understand how we lost to them, but their season's essentially over. The Titans, without Ryan Tannehill and with Malik Willis, they were able to take the Chiefs down to the wire in overtime, but unfortunate. But they're the class of this division. The Colts fired Frank Reich, obviously. If you want my opinions, really briefly, um, if I'm an African American, a Hispanic coach in the NFL, I'm fucking pissed. That's some bullshit. I mean, this guy has never coached in the college or NFL level. Yes, Pro Bowl center, all pro center. Um, but it's just really tough to see someone like Jeff Saturday, who's an extremely good guy. He wasn't deserving. That's my opinion on it. It is what it is. Jaguars, I'd love to see them get to 500. The Texans, Lovey's gonna get fired. We all know that story quite too well. G Vegas, how the Jets are having a really winning record with such bad quarterback play because they're winning with defense. Zach Wilson is not good. Zach Wilson is performing like a Jameis level without the yards. Essentially, it's just turnovers, and it's just not good. But Sauce Gardner is a hit. They've hit really well on the defense. They figured out the offensive line a decent bit. They have 2 good running backs. That's how they're winning games. Bud Campbell, no surgery. They said sprained good. Good for Josh Allen because that would be a huge hit to them. But if I'm Odell Beckham Jr., I think that's something I'm monitoring. I think that's his best fit right now is to go to the Bills. He came to the Bucks. I don't know how Byron would utilize him, but I don't want him to go to an NFC contender. If he wants to go to the AFC, go to the effing Bills. Bills Mafia will just jump through another table. Always talk about Jeff Saturday hire being bad, and I'm sitting here wishing Tampa would do something with Leftwich. I'll take no, booger, no. Byron does good things. Byron is that kid. Or no, I'm just not even going to go into that analogy. Byron, he had a great mentor. He had an amazing mentor. When he was on his own in Arizona without BA, after BA went in the booth, and then they basically hit the reset button and fired their coaches, and Byron basically called games for half of a year. I mean, this is what it looked like, man. With like Josh Rosen, like it was just bad. I'm not saying BA took a red marker to shit, the way that he who must not be named Mike Florio would insinuate, but something was going on from a game planning standpoint that doesn't fly today. Raiders blew 3-17-0 leads this year, so at least the Bucks aren't that bad. Yeah, half of this, 90% of this game is not beating yourself. Show up and do your assignment. Raiders are missing Waller big time. Yes, but again, what's adding another 70 yards to their total going to do? It's what G Vegas said. I mean, they're blowing leads. Yes, but he is just a temporary interim. Not necessarily he can keep the job. Ursay can do whatever the heck he wants. And I know a lot, and I almost put this out on Twitter, but I didn't want the blowback from it. But I'll just say it here. I mean, Mike Florio and other writers called out the Bucks and Jason Light and the Glazers for hiring Byron or hiring Bowles without going through the Rooney Rule. They just took a guy who coaching high school football and said, "Here's a team," without an interview. Yes, he played for the team. That's great. He hasn't been around the organization in 15 years. Come on. Like, it's a temporary interim, sure. but he could still get the job, and it sounds like they love him. They want him to get the role and succeed. I mean, they have Marvin Harrison, or no, excuse me, Reggie Wayne on their staff. I believe. Let me make sure it's either Reggie Wayne or Marvin Harrison. One of them's on their staff. Colts staff, coaching staff. All right, coaching staff. You're telling me Gus Bradley wouldn't have done okay as an intern? Their offensive coordinator is a 30-year-old assistant who's never done it before, really. I swear one of them is wide receivers, Reggie Wayne. Yeah, Marvin Harrison, his son's the ones coming in the draft. They want to do it. Why not just do it? Reggie Wayne, he's been in the building. Here, we're going to stop the screen share real quick. Saturday is definitely not deserving to be an interim head coach. Again, let him go through the interview process. He hasn't been in the building. You're taking someone who hasn't been in the building and you're dropping him in and you're saying, cheers, kid. The owners are going to do what they're going to do. There's a hidden agenda. And see, and that's just where I am, because that could be, I mean, Jeff Saturday might be a great coach, but the Bucks or the Colts didn't do any interviews. Usually an interim coach is someone who comes in from the staff and takes over the duties. He wasn't on the staff. Barron ain't going anywhere again. That's just where I'm at too. I just hope he gets better. That's all we can hope and pray for. And hey, if Byron can get out of his own way, he can be a great OC. He can design some plays, but he just needs to know when to call them. Again, that comes with feel and experience. I mean, like, everyone knows I'm in sales. You don't just come in and say, here's the price. No one's going to buy. No, you got to hook them. You got to hook, and he's got to come out with, and his hook. The hook would be his game, his script. He's done better with his script. He did okay, at least. There's games where he's come out okay. His biggest issue is calling plays during games. That's where I think you got to mix in more drives with no huddle, have those plays already scripted out. My biggest struggle with Leftwich is he doesn't seem to learn or adapt. I'm fine with struggles, but it's the same thing every week, every half. No urgency until it is almost over. Exactly. No urgency, and then the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You adapt or you die. The Patriots had a different game plan every single week of every single game that they play. They had a good quarterback. I think that strategy would still work okay. Mac Jones just isn't it. Nah, it's BS in Indy, but I thought they still had to interview off season. Not if their coach is already in office. Otherwise, I mean, unless Jeff Saturday blows the roof off the door, they're not going to, I mean, excuse me. If he just does okay, they're probably going to stay with him, because why would you take that negative publicity hit if you're just going to hire him off the street and then just say bye? Not how that works. Wayne is Colts wide receiver. Colts. Thank you, G Vegas. I thought Saturday was in the office. Oh, he's been in ESPN, and then he's been coaching high school. Unless I'm missing something. One thing I'm looking for this Sunday is how the third quarter offense does. Interesting. The Bucks are really bad. Oh yeah, the offense and defense wants to pick quarter one and quarter three to struggle. Essentially, that's how everything's gone. Besides the two Super Bowl, welcome Cole to the stream. Besides the two Super Bowl teams, what was your favorite Bucks team since 2000? Ugh. I mean, asking me to pick 02 versus 20 is like asking me who my favorite kid is. Shit. I'm gonna not pick the two teams that won the Super Bowl. I'm I'm going to pick the Greg Schiano first year. I don't think anyone had any expectations for him. He did relatively well. I think a lot of people would probably throw out the Dirk Cutter, you know, year we were on Hard Knocks, and that was a lot of high expectations brought in Deshaun Jackson. I didn't like a lot of the moves. Oh wait, no, I have my answer. Give me the 2 weeks or the 4 weeks of Fitzmagic. 3 weeks, excuse me. We don't talk about the Bears game. We lost to the Steelers week 3. Those first 2 weeks of Fitzmagic are my favorite non-Super Bowl experience. Besides those two teams, yeah, I'm taking the 2 weeks of Fitzmagic. That was the best times I ever had as a Bucks fan. Man, it was great to be on social media during the Fitzmagic era. Alrighty, we're gonna wrap this up with some picks. I'm gonna go over just some of the picks that I made. We're gonna talk through just some of the key games. I picked Atlanta over Carolina, mainly because of the quarterback situation. I'm rooting for Carolina though, but you asked me to make a pick. I'm like fourth in the standings here. I'll pull up the standings real quick so you can guys can kind of see where we're going or where we are in the season. If you don't know who Buck and Mullet is, my boy Jay, he is leading the pack right now. He is getting some of these like perfect weeks too. If you see, there's some buys that affect some of these weeks now or these numbers during the week. Michael Pless, you all know the good old Michael Pless. He's got a couple games on me. Patricia Morgan crushing it. Me in fifth place. Gene's making a little comeback though. Don't count the good old BucWhatYaHeard out. Making some good things happen. I don't pay attention. Do not pay attention to this Seattle Tampa Bay thing. I pick every single. My record would be better every single week. I pick whoever the Bucks are playing as again a good luck thing, superstition, type thing. Um, what is a good game? I don't know. Buffalo and Minnesota, I think could be fun. I picked New Orleans over Pittsburgh, but I wouldn't be shocked if Pittsburgh won this game. New Orleans has no idea what's going on in quarterback, and Pittsburgh just finds ways to win games and somehow be at or above 500. Rams in Arizona, I'm going to be a huge Arizona fan, but I can't pick them. I picked Green Bay only because Dallas is coming off the bye. Sure, Green Bay's paying for its season. If Green Bay loses this game, they're done. So I just took them there. San Fran and LA, I think this will be a good game, but I want to see McCaffrey, Debo, all of them healthy. I think it'll be fun, and then a week Monday Night Football game. Roll wrap. Oh, I didn't even share my screen during that. Oh my goodness. Here, I'll show you all my picks really quickly. Feel free to take a screenshot if you're in any kind of league. But yeah, just to touch real quick, pay no attention to the Seattle over Tampa Bay thing. But just some of those decent. I don't think this is the greatest slate the NFL has thrown out there. But again, I think this game is a big one. This is Green Bay's season, but if Dallas loses, that's bad news for them too. So there's a couple good ones sprinkled in there. But from the 1 o'clock slate, I mean, look at this. From a pick standpoint, just from Miami and Cleveland down, this tells me there's some pretty big favorites and a lot of underdogs. Not much even on the matchups. I mean, the most even matchup is the Bucks and Seattle. All right, let's go through the chats real quick, and then we will call it a night. Chris Cole, Saturday is going to be the owner's eyes in the locker room culture. Yeah, sure. That's not what you pay someone. He's getting paid a lot of money. You tell me Reggie Wayne can't do that? That's all I'm saying. Again, it's not like I dislike Jeff Saturday. The Jeff Garcia playoff game was efficient. The Fitzmagic was amazing for those 2 weeks. Again, I'll take those 2 weeks. If we're not winning a Super Bowl, give me those 2 weeks. Gene gonna be mad. You said Atlanta. Yeah. Gene can just drink another beer. It was just so annoying watch that playoff game against the Giants when they couldn't come back, just dinked and dunked down by a couple scores. Give me Tim Rattay versus the Bears in '06. Oh lordy. Green Bay. Oh gosh. Oh, Ron. Ron, you done messed up. But thank you all again for a wonderful Wednesday. I think you'll have not only Gene back next week. I've heard through the grapevine he might do something on Friday or Saturday, maybe even Sunday, or probably not Sunday. It'll be way too early. But be on the lookout Friday or Saturday. Maybe Gene will pop up, and maybe we'll have like Pless or someone else on as well. Just me for the day, for the night. I mean, but it's been a pleasure, connecting with all of you today. I hope everyone, especially the ones in Florida, obviously are safe during the tropical storm that comes through. I want to make sure I touch on that again. Be safe. Uh, if you ever need anything, I will always, retweet or help in any way that I can. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Bucks_Barrett. That's BUCS underscore BARRETT. This is KB signing out, but it's been a pleasure seeing all of you tonight. Emily, you are ultra optimist. I'm not going to pick this game um, because every time I pick a game, it doesn't go the way that I want. So I'm just not going to. But I think it's going to be a very close game, regardless. Hopefully on the Bucks side. And be safe, everyone. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on BucWhatYaHeard. Peace.